Hi everyone, we're back in a new session to continue developing a OpenAI standardized, unit-tested library for the .NET community. And as usual, with me on this journey, never quitting, never giving up.
Nope. Hello, everyone.
You should know that, in this entire series, you have burned the most brain power because you have to know this is the end of the day for me. I'm just chilling. I'm just hanging out. You're the one who's coming up with idea and burning through, some concepts to make them happen, right? So, did I spend any time in solving the problem with the multi-part form? Nope. All
You
I
did
was doing
you,
is just saying, it's bad. I don't like it. That's it. That's pretty much all I did.
you did spend a lot of time holding red flags, yes.
Let me show you something funny about, corporate life and, how corporates, Brian, you're gonna relate to this the most. And, just for the people watching, if you're wondering what's this have to do with OpenAI, it doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with OpenAI. I'm just doing it because it's fun. So deal
Just
with
want
it.
to, I just want to say about Hassan holding up the red flag. It's really hard not to take it personal, but at my age, you learn, and it's not personal at all. It's all about getting the quality of the code.
By the way, this is one of the most precious advice. I can't tell you how many people thought it was personal. I had someone at some point in time saying, "You need help. You need to see therapy." And I'm like, "This doesn't have anything to do with you. We're
Mm.
trying to produce a product that when it lands in the hands of those who will use this product, they won't know my name or your name or any of us, you know?
It feels personal, but it's not. It really
It
does.
really isn't. It really isn't. I hope people like Kailu saw this firsthand in multiple kind of encounters, where we kind of, a conversation got a little bit heated up with other people, and they think it was personal, but then just a couple of hours later, be like, "Hey, you want to eat lunch?" Or the next day, be like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" It's there's a certain quality and certain aspect that I'm trying to reach to through software. I'm actually trying to love people through software. Like the software that they use, they feel that someone actually cares enough about their experience to make it happen. Anyway, here's a funny one for you. Kylo, you might like this one. Brian, you're gonna relate to this one the most, and you'll see why. It's hilarious. Okay, here we go. All right, can you guys see this guy talking?
Hmm.
Yeah? Okay. Tell me if you can't hear him. Can you hear him okay?
No.
You can't hear him. Shame. Shame, StreamYard. Don't know what to do with you. Let's see here. Chrome tab. Let's try it this way. Okay, tell me if you can hear it now.
For an answer, like if you ask a mathematician what is pi, they'll say it's the ratio of its circumference of a circle to the diameter, because they won't be pinned down to a number. You ask a physicist what is pi, they'll say 3.14159, and if they're committed, they'll go on forever. You go away, come back, 6.72349, you go away, come back, 12. 19. But if you ask an engineer what is pi, they'll say, about 3. But I would use 4 to be safe. If you ask most CEOs what is pi, they'll say dessert, I believe. Is it not? I had asked for cake. Was there a problem with the cake? Can we get a task force on the cake problem? Someone take an action item. Can I get an action item taken here? Let's buy a company with cake technology. Is one available? You ask most managers what is pi, and they'll say, when do you need to know by? I'm going to need more people. And finally, ask most salespeople what is pi, and they'll say, well, the engineers will tell you 3, but I can get it to you for 2.6.
Just if you replace salespeople with program managers, PMs
Hmm.
in general, yeah, you got it.
Two,
Absolutely right.
and and 2.6 will be on the contract.
So Okay, so I wanna just help people understand that a pairing session doesn't always have to be um, always just very focused on just the what do you call it? Just the topic itself. You're gonna have to venture off a little bit to kind of cheer people up a little bit and all that kind of stuff. Another funny one, and then we'll start actually talking business. Sorry, I'm in a good mood, so we're gonna have to. You know what I did today? I was driving a boat. I never
Yeah,
drove a boat ever
I,
before.
I was
Uh,
just watching that just before I joined.
I
That
was
that
driving.
wasn't it. That was not the ocean, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, that is not an ocean. Oh, don't listen to what I say. I say absolute nonsense, just so you understand. Okay, let's take it to the CEO. Pachai. He's the CEO of Google. So today, in case you haven't been following, today is the I/O event, Google's I/O, where they basically bring software engineers from all over the world, .NET or not, mostly not .NET people, which is totally fine, and they come and talk about interesting things, right? These things could be tech related, they could be non-tech related, whatever the case may be. It's in general, it's interesting topics that I think every person that's interested in the tech industry, think about Microsoft Build, but for Google. It's called Google I/O, right? So some folks decided to go and see how many times, given the big shakeup that happened to Google because of OpenAI and ChatGPT, it caused a big shake up inside of the company because they started to lose traffic to a different website. This is how Netflix and Facebook are competitors. Why is that? Because they're fighting over your time, your eyes being on the screen. That's where the revenue is regardless, even if they don't really present the same kind of content, these folks are selling, movies, and these folks are selling post social media interactions. At the end of the day, you're the product. Your eyes are the product because the more you look at it, they can show these numbers to the ads folks, and the ad folks will be like, well, they're getting a lot of traffic. Let's go invest money into an ad company, or a company that wants to sell something will pay you 10 times more, if you have higher traffic on your website, than someone else's, right? And the internet runs on ads. The entire internet runs on ads. If you think that, Facebook or Google or any of these companies have a bigger source of revenue than ads, you'd be severely mistaken, right? So anyway, so because that shakeup that happened in the AI world, and how Google now they got shook really really hard and roughly. Now you'd expect in a Google I/O event like this, they'll be talking about what? We're talking about what? About AI, right? So someone went and counted how many times the CEO of Google said AI, and the result is just hilarious. Check this out.
AI, generative AI, generative AI, generative AI, AI is AI, 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 AI. It uses AI to bring AI, 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 AI.
Of course, it's going to be about AI. Now you just need to count it. They did something similar when Microsoft decided to release Xbox TV, right? And how many times, the dude, I don't think it was Phil Spencer. I think it was someone else, and he kept saying TV, 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 TV. It was just hilarious. It was hilarious. Okay, enough with the clowning. Let's get started with some serious stuff. So, yesterday we did merge. I just want to make sure that our pull requests are cleaned. So I'm gonna go on to the standard OpenAI, and Catalan. It looks like he has a couple of comments. Yeah, so Catalan has uh, clients exceptions. Yeah, I don't know where this Pragma thing came from. He might have had like an enabled error somewhere, in one way or another. What I would want though, Carolyn, if you're watching, I want you to post a, let's see here. I want you to post a screenshot that this client is running, right? Post a screenshot that tells me this client. So Carolyn, post a screenshot of this client running, please. Okay, so there's that part. Okay, and then yesterday, is our broker post fine-tuned? That was us. Looks like Diogo made some changes there. See the beautiful thing that Ryan, do you know about the suggest feature in GitHub? Have you heard of it? You're basically making the suggest. The person reviewing is giving all you need to do if you agree is just say commit changes. Like I agree, I'm gonna take this change, right? So that's pretty cool, isn't it? So let's go here, and then I think is that the last one of them?
It is pretty cool. You might have to walk me through how to do them again.
So
Oh,
let me show you, an example. Like let's say for instance this is a foundation service that Diogo is working on. And let's say he's saying OpenAI broker mock like this, right? Or datetime broker mock, right? So let's say for all intents and purposes, I want to change this to say datetime with uppercase D, right? You can do suggest like this or suggestion like this, and you could basically change the code. You could say this dot datetime broker mock dot whatever
so it
like
takes what's in
this.
the content of that markup block and replaces it.
Yeah, it basically look how it shows up. It says, hey, if you agree on this, we'll change the code right away.
Nice.
So you don't have to say, oh, go ahead and change this. It'll say, if you approve of this change, let's push it in. It's genius. It also works with ADO.
So what was the wrapper suggestion? Yep.
Just suggestion.
Yep.
Cool. So that's one cool feature, you know, and then again another one for people. How many people here know about Mermaid? Mermaid? Anybody? Okay. So Mermaid for GitHub, I can literally, it's a special language that you can run in GitHub. And if you want to see an example of it, it's the most beautiful thing ever because I can do something like this in my comments to explain a point to someone like this. Mermaid. I think it's like this. And then if I go here, it builds a diagram for them.
Hmm.
So and it has like zoom in, zoom out, go right, go left, flip it upside down, all kinds of crazy stuff that you can do. See? So a lot of cool things that you can do. What did Diogo say? You can also click the button on the left and it will create that block for you. Click the button on the left. What button? Oh, this guy? Oh, add suggestions. See? Man, I love the community, man. I love our community. Yeah, I didn't know about this. Look at this. It copied the code for me so I can make the changes. Did you see this? I did not know about that. See, you never go out there try to teach someone something until it's just gonna fire right back at you. You know, someone is gonna just come right back at you and be like, "Oh yeah, let me show you what I know." Right? This is a good positive kind of enforcement. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Diogo. This is beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. I know it's not the same name, but Diogo's name reminds me of this one of my favorite movies. It's called Alita, the Warrior Angel. And then there's a guy there. I think his name is Yogo. Anyway, I like your name, son. I like your name. Not trying to say. Okay, so I think this is good. I think this is you know, Foundation. I need to review this, Diogo. Just take a look at it. But I think it should. Kailu, can you review this while we're doing this piece? The the pull request. Can you take a look at it, please?
Okay.
Okay. Diego heads up. It's gonna leave you 20,000 comments. Not my problem. You know, this is your life now. So the broker that we have here, I think should be in good shape. So I'm just gonna merge that in. And now we need to start a foundation service. And the foundation service that we want to work with here is basically, you know, we could start with basic stuff, but we want to be able to post a um, a a a fine-tuned request and get a fine-tuned response. So let me increase the screen size here. Okay, let's do this. Yusuf, there's a lot of background noise coming from your side, son. What are you doing? Okay, cool. All right, let's do this. Okay. So since this is merged, let me get latest from main. Let's get this started. Okay. So under the foundation services, let's do this. We need fine tunes, right? So we have load files. Look at all these different services that we have so far. These are the models. Under services, we have all these foundation services, orchestration services, and then we need fine tunes. And I think that's what I called it, external fine tunes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool. Fine tunes. So you start from the folder here, fine tunes. And then under that, I need an interface for an I fine tune service. That's a foundation service. There you go. And then this guy here will have a value task of a fine tune response. Well, we're just gonna have fine tune in here, so this is what do we want to call it, Brian? Would that be submit fine tune? Um, it's not add fine tune. We're not adding.
Yeah, it's submit, I'm thinking. Yeah.
Submit.
Yeah.
Submit fine tune async, and that will take fine tune as a model, right? So our model here, so Control KE, and then in here I want to basically go and create a model for me. So under foundations, under models, under services, here's fine tunes like this, and here's my fine tune model. Fine tune. And this fine tune model will have this is an external public model. So that guy rightfully so needs to be actually public. There will be a fine tune request, and there will be a fine tune response, Okay, and these two need to match the properties that are coming from the external response and the request. So under external fine tunes, we're gonna have the fine tune request right here. I'm gonna steal all of these. All of that good stuff is gonna come with me. And here's my request right here. We don't need any of these JSON properties, so I'm just gonna do Alt Shift and select all of these like this, and then say Shift End, that takes it out. And then we need to take the extra, there you go. Takes the extra lines in between. There you go. And then on top of all of that, oh, before I forget, let me create a branch. So users, Hassan Habib, foundations, fine tunes, submit. You'll never ever have to think about these little things when you're developing these systems. You'll never ever have to think about, oh, what should I call that, right? Okay, Brian or Yusuf, can you guys think of any?
It needs to be public.
Yeah, this guy needs to be public, that's true. Control KE will clean up things, and then that's pretty much it. I think the naming here is okay. Prompt loss weight, batch size. I think the naming here is okay. So that basically puts us back here. So here's a prop, fine tune request. So there's a request right here. And then we need also a public fine tune response, which is a response right here. How come we have that in here? Why? Oh, because the and this guy needs to be also public because I created the model already. There you go. Control KE, clean that up. Now let's go back into the external fine-tune response, and this guy is the fun guy because that's the guy that has all the fun stuff in it. So here's all of that. Brian, what did we agree on? Did we call it the object? Did we call it type? I think that's what we called it, right? So type.
Yeah, we need to code rub the inconsistencies.
That's right. And everywhere where it says JSON property, I want to take all of that out. By the way, if you guys don't know this, Elbic showed me some really cool app yesterday. They built it from this library, which is basically like a chat app that you give it your. It's like it's very similar to Midjourney, but what it basically does is that it takes a chat request from you and then renders it. It's really sweet. I love it. You know, he's gonna announce it soon. I think it's really, really cool. Okay, and these guys are complaining. So let me push ID up by 1 here. And these guys are complaining because of the access level. This is public and these guys are private, right? So we need to create the equivalent of these. So I'm just gonna go here and say training file, fine tune training file. Response, yeah, training file, okay. And also we have, let me clean that up. Control KE, that takes care of that. And then on the response here, so that will be training file. So that's good. And then the external hyper parameters. So we need hyper parameters in here. So it's hyper parameters, hyperparameter. See, I still want to make that P uppercase. It should be, right? So if I go back here, that will be hyper parameter. And is that guy still internal? Yeah, it is. So public, control KE, that cleans up everything. Good. And then the last one here is the events. So I'm just gonna go here and say the event is very overloaded word though. So thank God for the, what was that? Apply one suggestion. Yeah, there you go. Um, uh, the thank God for namespaces, because namespaces will kind of help us kind of distinguish between an event and event. Yeah, there you go. Elvic saying coming soon. So I'm not gonna steer your light, son. You know, you show it to people. It's really, really nice. It's really, really nice. And I mean, at some point in time, what I really want once this product stabilizes, because you see we're still in the alpha stage, so 0.5, 0.6, 0.57. That's me basically saying we're not ready, we're not prime time yet. Once we release version 1, there will still continue be some development going on the library, and there will be a lot of code rub, you know, a lot of upgrades every time OpenAI adds a new feature, of course. But what I want us to do is to build apps on top of this library, applications on top of this library. One of the interesting things I saw yesterday is a gentleman that created an OpenAI mock. So it basically an entire library that mocks OpenAI. I don't know what he's using underneath, but it's not a bad idea. It's basically the idea of SPAL, really, to just be able to kind of run things locally without calling an external API. Okay, so let's copy these. So external event, I'm gonna take this. Here's my event here. I'm gonna put it right here, and instead of object, I'm gonna say type, and then the rest of these are okay, I think. So this is good. Control KE, we're done here. And then on hyperparams, I'm gonna go and take this. Here you go. So that's hyperparameter. Uh, and then I have them all, right? I have the, oh, I don't have the training file yet. And what is this? Yeah, this guy still needs to say event. Okay, so that's that part. And training file. So the training file would be all of this. Hey, Yusuf, you ready? You want to write code with us?
I'm down.
There's a big one coming your way. Just heads up. Just so you know. Okay, there you go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. So okay, so that's that part. So that's training file, fine tuning. We have everything looking good, I think. I'm gonna give this a quick cleanup. So here we go, cleanup, code cleanup. Let's go. Okay, and then this is me saying, hey, data defined local models. Okay, now Yusuf, do you want to write a failing test? so Brian can make it pass. Sorry, Brian. Sometimes you just gotta. Yusuf, did you
I
watch
think
our?
you
Uh,
you're pushing it right now.
yeah. Yusuf, did you watch our session about how to get verified on GitHub? Do you have a chance to see that one?
I saw part of it. I didn't finish the full thing. I think that's
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah. So here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make all our commits, all our commits moving onwards to be kind of verified, right? Because we're gonna enforce a rule later. Hold on a second. Yusuf, are you added in as a collaborator? I need to check my phone. Just give me a second. Be right back. Are you a collaborator on this project? I mean, you paired with us on it. You must have. No?
Yeah, I've submitted code at least beforehand, so I think I am.
Let me double check on that one just to make sure.
Okay, percent.
Okay, so the code here is okay. Okay. So confirming access, just making sure you're there. No, you're not. What's your GitHub name again?
It's YU capital Y and then lowercase US capital
Mhm.
C3.
Gotcha. Okay. Accept the invitation and pull that repository and let's go. Let's go to town.
Okay.
There's Yusuf.
Okay, it's been accepted, so I think I'm good. The
Yeah, you should be
repository
good.
is already pulled though. I've been made some since I've worked on it before, I think I'm good. So
Cool. Let's do it.
yeah, cool. So what is the change that we're making here specifically?
We need to write a failing test that, proves that when we submit a fine-tune model, it takes the request and maps it into an external fine-tune request. And then, something very similar with the response. When we get a response back, we want that response to be mapped back into the right stuff. Yeah, you can pull that model in. Yep,
Okay, cool.
you're gonna need to put a not implemented exception for the implementation of this routine in this service. I didn't even create the file yet because I just did the data. I was like,
Mm,
that's it. My job ends at the easy part, I just do easy stuff.
okay.
You think he could have mocked the data for you?
All right, so let's go ahead and create the service.
Huh? And Yusuf, can you zoom in a little bit? Like hold the control button and just scroll the wheel forward. Yeah, there you go. Yep, thank you. Mhm.
Okay. Now this fine-tuned service is going to use the OpenAI. It's been a while since I've
Mhm.
written some code, so I'm just checking to make sure that I've got it right.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
That's part of the game.
Yeah, just correct me if I start to deviate too much.
No worries.
No, we sit here and wait.
Yeah, that's part of it. Mhm. Cool. Right. So just so you be aware, we're trying to apply a rule here, that your test should not be repeating the mapping that your business logic is doing. Do you remember having this discussion before?
I think I remember parts of it a little bit where it was like
Mm,
if there's something that needs to be mapped, you have to do that in the service itself, and you don't actually bring that logic over to the test because the test is only supposed to test your service capabilities.
right. So, your test shouldn't be repeating the logic that
Yeah,
your
what I'm
actual. Mhm.
yeah, no, I actually was just creating the service.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but now I think this is good enough to start creating the
Yeah, just fast
actually I can
arrow
do
your
this.
constructor because you're not gonna need anything else other than this. Your constructor is a
Uh
one-liner.
like this, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to add like any utility
Nope.
brokers to this?
Because
Really?
nope. Because yeah, because it's a library. Like you're logging where,
Oh, right.
right? Don't forget the copyrights though. Like go at the top, control period, and just hit the header of the file. There you go.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Oh, that's actually really helpful. I used to just copy and paste these.
Visual,
Let's go ahead and
if you're doing something too manual on Visual Studio, you're probably missing out on a very interesting feature that is going
yeah.
on with the system. Like, the folks, the what's his name? The gentleman that I had a podcast with. He's a PM on the Visual Studio team at Microsoft, and one of the things that he was talking about is how they're always really closely observing engineers' behaviors, the not just through how people are using it on streams and stuff like that, but telemetry, right? There's telemetry going on. When you go and say, yes, help Microsoft make that product better, you're basically showing them where you click, what is the most likely things, what are the features that people are not seeing and not using. And then there's people like myself who will tell you about some weird features in Visual Studio that people just don't use, and it's sitting there, but people just are not using it. It's cool.
Sessions like this expose you to new things all the time. Like I showed you something new yesterday.
Yeah. And I just learned today from Diogo this little button on the left. I was showing off, oh look, 3 text suggestions. And it's like, well, let me do you one better, that's sweet. I love this about our community. I certainly love this about our community.
Nice. You capitalize the I?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think that's correct. And then I just pass this into here. Thanks.
And not in the test though.
Not in the test like this.
No.
Oh, right. We just
Who's
created.
gonna inject it? Nobody, right? The test is the
Yeah.
entry point, right? So.
Yeah. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is the basics of the setup.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, you still need the service, right? Something to
yes.
pass that mock into it. Mm-hmm. See, AI was trying to misguide him there, saying, "Oh, call it fine-tuned service mock. It only makes sense." Look, new eye fine-tunes.
Yeah, kind of interesting. Service. Okay. What else would I be missing for this? Like this first part of the partial test.
Oh, quite a bit, but we'll get there. I
Okay.
want it to be driven. This file will be full of stuff because you're gonna need to build dynamic objects and stuff like that. But
Right. Right.
there is a reason why, I'm kind of letting you kind of explore through it because I'm gonna take that video and give it someone who's just starting to understand, the rules and principles of this. So I can
Right.
actually kind of tell them here in the easiest, slowest pace. There it is. Watch it, and see it being written letter by
Mm,
letter. That's
right.
why I'm not losing my shit, just so you know.
Well, I appreciate it. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna go ahead and then just start on the other part of the test, and then perhaps then
yeah, let's go there.
there are
That's
things
that,
that
that's a
okay.
great way to start. Go for it.
And then, now, do you call it logics or just logic?
Logic.
Dot. This would be submit.
So dot logic dot submit.
That's it.
And
Just dot submit.
dot cs. If you don't put dot cs, it'll mess up the file. And
Right.
even though you think just calling it dot cs will solve the problem, you will need to recreate the file because Visual Studio is buggy, has some bugs in it.
Does that really happen? I've used
Oh
this
yeah,
quite a bit.
especially with Blazor. There's a reason why Brian is smiling right now because we got burnt by this more than anybody else. It's
Oh,
When
ridiculous.
I did,
it
when I
burns me
did
all the
just
time.
Hmm.
really, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It ends
Okay.
up putting
Cool.
strange entries in your project file.
that's right.
I see. Do I need to have the headers for the test at all, by the way, or
Always, everywhere.
okay? So this control period. Nope.
You do Control KE and then Control period. Every everything happens for you. By the way, Control KE doesn't just remove the unused, but it orders them if you have that rule enabled to put the system directives at the top. Always.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so now we're just creating the test. So this would be
Yeah?
something like
No. That's for MS Test. There you go. Welcome back.
public. You have to use task
That's right.
and
Even async, if you would like.
sync task. Something like
Should submit fine-tune async.
I should
Hmm.
that's it. Right.
That's it. That's it on the method name, but what this method is gonna do, it's quite fun.
Right. Given when so I would say from what I know from OpenAI, the way that actually, I can just go directly to the brokers for this one.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna need to create some
That's a
stuff.
great start. Yep. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So that would be here. And we are creating a external fine-tune request. So that's the data. And then we would pass it into the broker directly.
Right. So somehow you
Um,
need to extract external fine-tune request from a fine-tuned model, right?
yeah.
Cool. And then what?
External fine-tune request from fine-tune model. Well, you just post it at that point.
Yes, and then what happens after you post it?
You have to wait back to get a at least accepting kind of like a response.
You get a response. So this thing, what does this method return?
A response.
Right.
External fine-tune response.
Ah, so that's this
So we
internal private model that needs to be mapped back into a fine-tuned response, right?
So the private model is the fine-tuned response, the external fine-tuned response.
And the external fine-tune request. Both of them
Oh,
are private.
they're both private.
Yeah. Or internal. Let's just say internal so people understand.
Yeah. So
Hey, Florian. Florian Renard.
my
From
brain is
France.
lagging. My brain is lagging in real time. This is wow.
That's the beauty about this, you know. Every now and then, you know, someone will hop in and we will just sit there and have fun, you know.
Don't worry, Yusuf. It's happened to me. It feels bad, and I feel bad for you, brother.
This is literally like the first bits of code that I've written since I've gotten back from Gambia. I've done a lot of reading. I've been reading the standard like and crazy, but in terms of coding, which is really good that I'm here today, I've just been kind of waiting to like really apply these theories and ideas. What I will do is I'll start by creating what I can do, which is
Yeah,
a
that's a great
new.
way to start.
Yeah, I know I'll need this, and then I also know that I'll need this at some point in time.
It's totally fine with me.
Okay. As we begin to steer closer and closer to the
Yep.
edge of the cliff.
Oh, you'll get there, I promise you.
Okay. So
I'm
I
not
know I
worried
need
about
these
that
two.
part. Go ahead.
I also know one thing is when we do this, we usually do this. I believe it's set up.
It should be.
Yeah, it's been a while since I did that. I'm just going to look at test file.
Nope. Go back. Nope. Control
Nope,
minus.
don't do it.
Nope.
Okay.
This is the very first file that you write in this project, and there's no other files in the world that has
Yeah.
that code, and you have to figure it out. You could also ask us, you know, that's also an option. I think you were
Okay.
going, Brian, I think he was going the right way. Isn't it set up? It is set up, isn't it?
Is it the
Yeah.
function then it's set up, or is it set up then the function?
Well, you call setup, right? And inside of setup, you put your lambda expression that represents the function.
Right.
Nope.
We pass in the.
Nope. Just put broker fat arrow and then do the rest.
And broker fat arrow, and then it's like this.
I don't know, things froze. Is it your screen or is it unshare and reshare? Unshare and
Yeah.
reshare. I think your screen froze.
Okay. Share screen.
Okay, waiting on it. While you're sharing, let's say what Florian said. I've changed position. I'm working in a research institute specialized in AI. I tried to push the standard for the APIs. They liked it, but only if we use Python or TypeScript. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the standard is not exclusive on .NET or C Sharp, you know, but if you can pull off the stuff that we do in C Sharp, that's fine, right? If you can't pull it off, you know, because I have this other gentleman that is telling me, Hassan, I hate C Sharp. I love to write in TypeScript. I was like, funny, the same guy that created TypeScript is the same guy that wrote C Sharp. But if you really hate it, that's fine, as long as you can get me the exact same principles and values that we implement according to the standard in this language. Usually, kind of, it gets trippy. It's trippy for people. But Florian, this is pretty cool. I'm happy for you, sir, that you're doing some AI stuff. It's the future for sure. Okay.
So
What
I
did you
know I
do?
have
Did you
to.
go steal it? Did you go steal what did you do? How
No,
did
no, I
Okay.
promise not.
Okay.
This is just based on kind of what I can recall. So it's
Good.
using the Lambda expression to set up a
Yep.
function.
Yep.
I'm passing in something that I create above, and then I return
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, ultimately, that's what the service should do. It should, or no, that's what the broker will do. So we've basically mocked the dependency, and I know I'm missing some things, but
It's
this is
totally
just kind
fine.
of yeah. And
By
then
the
the
way,
way that I would do it,
I'm not putting you on spot. I'm just
yeah.
putting you on spot.
No, no, it's okay.
Go for it.
It's okay. So this would be something like oh, I see what you mean by the mapping now.
Uh-huh.
Because I can't just pass in a fine-tune response without it being mapped into an external fine-tune request into external fine-tune request.
Correct.
I'm gonna pass it in anyway, and
Yeah.
then yeah, we will deal with it how to do that later. Now I get what you mean when you
What are you
said
gonna pass in? What are you gonna pass in?
yeah, so I now understand what you meant by saying you don't repeat the mapping behavior.
Uh-huh.
So if I'm not repeating the mapping behavior, I now okay, yes, the dynamics and the use of dynamics I will need some assistance on because I think that's what we would do to do this,
Mm.
but I'm not really sure on how to use them in that way. I
Okay.
know you use dynamics for rules. That's the most like recent knowledge of
For
what I've
validation.
used, but
Yeah.
yeah, but I guess I'll keep writing. Actually, I mean, this is definitely a stopping point for me because I don't really know exactly what I'd be passing in. I know that there's some infrastructure I would be setting up here. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Do you want to take that one? I haven't written code in like 3 years, 3 sessions. Hello, do you want to write the test for me?
Okay. Okay.
All right,
I can
Kailu.
do you want me to pass this to Kailu?
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, you did the setup and all that, so. Florian says, thank you. I'll try to find some time to participate, but usually you are coding at 5 in the morning. I know a lot of people have told me this. It's all because of Brian Parker. His his afternoon is everyone else's midnight. By the way, just so you guys know, I'm not having fun either. It's like 10:30 here. Like it's always goes past midnight while Brian is enjoying the sun and the summer over there in Australia. I'm the one that has to suffer. So, all
Actually,
right, Yusuf, did you kick it off? Did you push it to K?
Uh, working copy of it touches.
What are you typing? Where are you going?
I'm not really sure. It gave me a warning. The GitHub did.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay, K, take it over.
Well, actually, I didn't push it completely yet.
That's all right. He can take care of that piece.
Okay.
All right. You can revert that. So Florian, I'm gonna try to kind of shift um the timing around. It's just not that easy um because of certain restrictions with time zones and stuff like that. And usually I'm busy during the day and all that kind of stuff. It gets a little interesting, but You know, we'll try to find a way to make it, you know, more usable for everybody. I know that Ricardo also wanted to participate. By the way, just for the people watching, you can now just pick up a feature and run with it on your own without having to wait for the stream, right? Because the stream is just going to slow you down because I take my sweet, sweet time explaining things. I talk about, you know, what's going on. At this point in time, the stream is more like an educational and informative tool to kind of help people know what's new with AI, what happened recently, and then whether we can implement something that's fancy and interesting in any way, shape, or form. All right, Kay, do you need pointers or do you know where you're going?
Do we have a unit test with, or do I need to create?
You gotta need to create it. You gotta need to create the test. Uh-huh.
Okay, that's including files themselves, right?
Yeah, I think I created just one I created just one interface for the service. So if you go under services and then to go to fine tunes, you should see something in there.
Right.
No, that's the models. Yeah, there it is, fine tunes. So you're gonna need to create the actual concrete service there. And make sure you pull that model in because I forgot to pull it in. The model is implemented, you just need to pull in the reference for it. Let's go, okay. We need to finish this in 10 minutes. You and I, 9 minutes. Let's go.
K's fast, but this is going to be pretty big.
Oh, he's gonna. Oh, you don't know who that guy is. You guys have no idea who that guy is. I swear. I know you think that, oh, you know, there's this Kailu guy. Oh, the stuff he did at Microsoft, you wouldn't believe. It's beyond crazy. We wrote an entire project that's 751,000 lines of code in 8 months. Sometimes we would write code around the clock, like we start from 7 in the morning until next day 12 p.m. So over 24 hours, you know, and they would hear me snore on the call and they would make fun of me. Do you remember that stuff, guy? Him and another guy that was pairing with us.
How do you keep your focus when you're that far in?
Well, the thing is, this is gonna sound so cultish, but please try to be open-minded, okay? This is the most cultish thing that you will hear me say. Um, when you're working on large sets of code, because it's very standard strict, you get kind of in the wave of it. Like you're not even reading the code anymore. Your brain is just seeing patterns and
Hmm.
printing and writing patterns. You don't even know, like, get at like 4 or 5 in the morning. You've been working, pushing code straight for like 12 or 13 hours. Your brain isn't reading code anymore. You're
It's
pushing
all.
code, but you're not reading code anymore,
It's more like
right?
memory muscle.
Yeah, it's fully memory muscle. The reason why, you know, and this is what I'm saying about Kailu is that he picked up, um, I think it was 8 foundation services, 8 processing services, and then he picked up 3 orchestration services and 1 coordination service. I think there was a management service at some point, and an aggregation service, all the way to up to controller in one night. In one night. Okay, so
Did he
um,
take Did he take 24 hours off? Did you, Caleb?
what I said to them, if you're done by Thursday, at some point in time, anytime that you're done by Thursday, Friday is off.
Mm,
4 day work week.
you'd
You
need a
know,
break. You'd need a
yeah,
mental break after that sort of
yeah.
intense.
Everyone just crashed on
Mm,
Friday, and then when I started with the team after that, I promised myself I'd never ever do that to anyone again. Just for the people watching, if you think it's that I'm glorifying this kind of hustle culture of oh work and don't sleep, you're wrong. This is me saying that's a bad thing. I'm just trying to say how powerful, you know, some engineers can be to push through an
mhm.
entire enterprise system that just handles hundreds of thousands of requests every day.
Sometimes you got to push, but you don't want to make it a regular thing, hey?
No, exactly. Exactly. It started to become a thing like every week. Every week it's happening on Thursdays, every week. And the team started to kind of struggle a little. So this is where I learned to kind of balance and actually say, well, if it's done, it's great. If it's not done, screw it. It is what it is. Right. Anyway, when I'm saying this guy can put it in like 10 minutes, we actually him and I got a little soft and a little slow. We used to go through these things like, I don't know, like, just really fast. It's like drinking water, but it takes a lot of practice, just like anything out there, right? Practice a lot, do it again and again and again and again. How engineers shoot themselves in the foot when they basically um, automate something that they barely understand, and then it goes on great for a while, and then it breaks, and now they don't understand it anymore. You'd see this really smart engineer would tell you, I haven't touched this component in like years. Why? Because they wanted to apply dry. Don't repeat yourself. Well, don't repeat yourself led you to forget yourself. They don't know. They don't even know how that system works anymore, right? So there's a part human aspect of it. Take the eye. Okay, yeah, there you go. So check this out, Yusuf. We're gonna need to create a bunch of random dynamic properties. And these dynamic properties are basically what's gonna help us kind of create the a non-business logic specific or non-similar to what the business logic is. This is um the law of axioms, right? Basically going and saying things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other. You're letting your business logic handle that direct mapping, but you're doing a different kind of mapping there, right? So that's that. So Yusuf sent me like 50,000 messages like every day. He's like, what is orchestration service? What is processing service? I'm reading this piece about the standard. What was the question that you were asking earlier? And I said to you, I'll talk to you about it in the session. Do you remember?
Actually, yeah, I could pull that up. I think it was on why you have to map back to, it was in an orchestration service. You mapped it from it was like the example used was like a media post, and
Mm-hmm.
it had the content or a bunch of images, and then no, it had a bunch of images, and then it had the content as well as a one in virtual, not virtual.
Like a virtual
I think you,
model, like a
I think
non-logical model that goes on standard.
yeah, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
think you called it like non-physical or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and essentially, I was just curious because you pass in that non-physical model,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then but you map it back to itself to return it. And I was like, well, if you're already passing it in, why do you need to map it back to itself once you essentially separate it into these other models that will then go on and do whatever they need to do in their respective processing services? Yeah.
Let's take a look. While Kylo's doing this, let's take a quick look on the system. So here's the standard. No, this is the standard team. I want the standard. So, by the way, if you search the standard on Google, if you type my name next to it, it'll just spit out tons and tons of results around that, even all the way up to the Microsoft blog posts and stuff like that. It'll talk about the standard as well, which is great. That makes me really happy. But let's just go to the standard. This was in the processing services chapter. Is that where it is? What chapter are you in?
Orchestration.
Orchestrations. Okay, and then you said media post, virtual contracts, right? So this media post has an ID and it has a list of base 64 images, right? And then the example that you were talking about is this one, right? So it says submit media post async. So that's a media post. It gets the post out of it and it gets the medias out of it, and then it calls two different services that handle these types separately. So the virtual model is like a concatenation of these physical models, right? And when it's posted to the orchestration service, it's splitting it and fanning it out across to the entities that are concerning with this. Now, you might ask me, why are you mapping back? That's your question, right? Why don't you just return the same guy that came from here, right? That's the question. Why this line here, right? The reason for this, actually, let's see, Brian, do you know why this line here? Why did I do that mapping back in here? Why didn't I just return this guy back, since all it wants is just the media post? What do you think about that?
I sort of came across this same situation
Yep,
in
that's why I've asked. Yeah.
yeah, and I was questioning over this, and I'm guessing it's to do with the validation. So.
Not quite. There's something more to this.
Hmm?
What happens is that when we persisted these values, it's very likely that underlying services have changed the state on some of these values. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So when we tell the end user, here's your final model, we truly are saying, here is truly your final model that carries also the new state after persisting these values in the system. You see what I'm saying? Like when you're posting in here, your media could be having a state that says pending. And now the state of that media is now submitted. In order for you to ensure that your end user is getting truly what has been persisted in the database, you map backwards to that post, to that media post. Let me simplify this further. If you have your incoming, this is your input, right? So that's your input. And your input has a model that looks like this, and let's say it has posts like this. And these posts are just basically an array, and inside each one of those there is, let's say ID, for instance, 1, 2, 3, and maybe there's status in here. And this status, I don't know, pending, or whatever the case may be, right? Your output, right? If you just send that input, it will go back to the user saying it's still pending, because you're not really getting back what has been persisted in the database. But if you re-aggregate after you've persisted all the values that you're talking about, then it is very likely that the new status that you have in here will be submitted like this. And that's why you need to aggregate back into the system. I don't know if I'm making it clear.
I think it makes sense, but like let's say I re-aggregate it back. Oh, I get it because I'm running these two functions and waiting for them to complete, and then I'm re-aggregating it back. So by that time, the data should have, if it was to be updated, it should have been updated. My
Exactly.
only other question is, what do you do with that model once you return it back? It doesn't seem like that model itself is being stored.
We don't
So
know that. We don't know that. Your user could be picking up that model and going somewhere else with it. It's outside of your scope.
is the orchestration service then only supposed to integrate with a exposure layer?
It can integrate with an exposure layer, or it can integrate with a coordination service, or it can integrate with an aggregation service. Three
And
things.
if it's gonna, I guess if it's integrating with these other services, would it have a purpose of using that orchestration based model?
It could.
If oh, it could. I see.
We don't know. Like, it's truly single responsibility. You're just doing the one function and focusing on that one function. And
I
all that
see.
you know is that when you receive something, you process it and you give it back. Like the microwave. You put a pizza in a microwave. After the microwave is done, you still are getting back pizza. But what changed about this pizza? Now it's hot. So the state has changed, but you're still getting back a pizza.
Hmm.
This is why we stick to a pure contract approach, because what a lot of people do, they'll be like, oh, send in a pizza and get back a cake, right? Send in, I was playing with something like this the other day, literally. Send in a a request and get back a response with no trail whatsoever with what that request may have been, right? So now you're not really getting back a pizza, you're getting back an apple. So you're putting a pizza, getting back an apple. Someone argued with me a while back that you're sending back a concept or a domain, and you're getting back a concept or a domain in a different state. So they tried to kind of argue that when you're sending student request and you're getting a student response, it's still a student. It's just a different state with a different model. It didn't quite click with me. That's, by the way, that's the mass majority of people. That's what they're doing. What they're doing is that you send in one model and you get back a different model, right? That can be quite problematic.
Isn't that what we're doing? Or, isn't that what OpenAI is doing?
That's what OpenAI is doing. OpenAI doesn't follow the standard.
Oh, I
That's
see. I
why
see.
we're building a library on top of it to kind of mitigate and deal with this inconsistency.
Interesting.
Let me tell you this: true software engineering doesn't show itself by building perfect systems neighboring other perfect systems, because it's a perfect world, so you're not really going to show any advantage. True software engineering, when you build perfect systems that can tolerate and coexist and neighbor imperfect systems, you're basically picking up chaos and you're twisting it.
I think that's the hardest thing for me to understand. Is just like, since I've had experience in both worlds, I'm trying to now adopt the standard as my core methodology of developing software. So I'm slightly rewriting like older paradigms, and then I get confused because I'm like, wait, why are we doing this? And then I'm like, but they're not doing this. It's interesting. So how do you plan on handling then OpenAI's current way of processing and sending responsive requests? You're muted. You're muted.
He's done a me. Huh.
Oh yeah, that's I try to mute because I'm chewing on these walnuts, but the that's what we've been doing with OpenAI. We basically we send the model that they expect, and we receive the model that they're sending, but that's where your broker and your foundation services are mutating that into one unified model. That's how we're doing it.
And how are we unifying it under one model?
Well,
Oh, it's the external fine-tuned model. It has both the response and the request. So at the end of the day, the data you send to retrieve is the states that are changing. That's interesting. I didn't understand why you did that at
yep.
first. I thought you were just adding another step for no reason necessarily.
Well, someone on Reddit called me a fool for it. And I said, okay, see you see you next year when this system becomes that big and you're dealing with 20,000 models,
Yeah,
right?
it's interesting.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it's a philosophy of programming. There's definitely different ones, but I think the standard makes it very repetitive and
It
reproducible.
it really is. I think I don't know
Yeah.
if it was Paul or someone else that said that. He said, by the way, the standard is extremely hard, but you're going extreme lengths to make it simple for people. But here's the thing: software engineering is a trade-off. You can either struggle during the build process of the software and then enjoy the rest of your life as you're maintaining this really well-defined, well-architected software, or you can cut corners and build software really quick, and you think you're comfortable until people start asking you to add more features and fix more bugs, and you struggle for eternity. So it's a trade-off. Put in the effort early to make sure that your system is solid. Like Brian Parker calls it, I'm going to steal this forever. He says we like to build silent software. Silent software, software that doesn't cause trouble. We build it and we don't hear about it again. Like, how many times did I hear someone come to me and say, hey, RESTful Synths is not submitting the right thing? Unless we're really going in, venturing off. I see about, I don't know, there's like 5, maybe 10 issues on that whole repository, and it's been around for almost 3 years now. That's fantastic. A repository, a library that has been downloaded 100,000 times. That's amazing. It's truly silent. And by the way, half of these issues are just feature requirements. They're not bugs. They're not people coming and saying, oh, this doesn't work for me. No, they're saying, hey, can we also do this? Right? How do you know a system is 2 things for you just from experience? A system is healthy when the number of feature asks is higher than the number of defects. That's a healthy system, right? Also, a system is healthy if the number of days the system is running is higher than the number of manual engagements that this system requires to stay alive. So if the system has run for 30 days and it required 30 manual engagement, that's not a healthy system. That's a system that's on life support, basically, right? Because it requires engineers to engage manually to fix the damn thing. It wastes everyone time, you know? Not that we've
Now,
ever seen anything like that, Yusuf.
maybe a little bit.
Ah!
Now, Hassan, I wanted to ask you a question about this mapping that we're doing, or we're
Mm.
getting around doing in the test. So I think remember this slightly. You create an object that gets context slapped dynamically. Explain how we do that for the test.
So think about it this way, right? Remember, this is the law of axioms. Things that are equal to the same thing are equal to each other, right? Which means that if x equals a and y equals a, is it safe to assume that x equals y? Very basic math, right? What the heck does this have to do with the prices of tea in China? Like, what does this have to do with anything, right? Right? It turns out that if your core function takes in x and y and returns x plus y, your test can never, so foo tests can never ever go and say int expected, or z rather, z equals x plus y, and then you kind of go and say int actual z equals, right? And then it's calling foo with x and y. This here is not a real test because you're basically going and saying, so this is expected z, right? So here's your given, here's your when, and here's your then. This is very important. A lot of people think they're writing unit tests. They're not. They're just repeating the logic. So a big mistake is to go and say, oh, then actual z should be equivalent to, right? And this is just pseudocode. So you're basically saying assert actual z equals expected z. What's the problem with this? The problem here is that your test is repeating the very same business logic that your core function is doing. Why is that a bad thing? Why should we care? It works, right? I mean, manager said, you know, this guy is great. He writes unit tests. Everyone in your team is saying, this guy is amazing. He writes unit tests. But somehow a good engineer knows they are fraudulent when they are doing something fraudulent. They know it deep down. Even if the whole world is handing them cake and medals of honors, you know deep down that you are fraud. And you know that what you built, you can see it when people are celebrating a big achievement or a milestone in a big software. Look at the engineers. If their smiles are kind of half or not existent, or they're looking away, they know something in the back end is just pure trash. But let me just go back to this question. Why does this matter? Why can I not just repeat the business logic in here? And what's the solution? It turns out that your service, your test, is only responsible for constituting the expectation, but not the way to get to that expectation. For instance, you're basically going and saying the strongest person should be able to lift 300 pounds weight. But it doesn't say how they're going to lift this 300 pounds weight. Because that's outside of the scope of that test. That's not the responsibility of that test. But more importantly, what if this guy changed its implementation? What if it started to do crazy stuff like +1, -1, plus y, plus 0, stuff like that. And they started to change the implementation. If this is trying to follow this, eventually it's going to fail. Right? So what's the solution then? The solution is that we can't actually do this. The solution for us is that we go and say int z equal random number. See how you're starting from the opposite side. Like your implementation starts from the left, from the inputs. A test starts from the opposite side of that. Okay, and then you're going and saying, okay, then x, right, is z minus some value. And y, right, is z minus some other value, like, or minus x, like this.
Is C equal to the random number, or what is C exactly?
I would go and do it like this. X equal random number, like this, and then I would go and say x is basically z minus y. Sorry, minus x.
But you're passing in Y and X.
But you never added them to each other. You're starting from the result. Like,
Oh, I see.
see
Yeah,
this
I
guy is,
guess, yeah,
yeah, this guy is trying to get to z. I started with z.
yeah, that makes sense.
So if you start with z, it doesn't matter because you're not really implementing what's going on in here. Like, it doesn't matter what this implementation is.
I guess it kind of does though, because why, if they change the underlying function in the test, Z minus X would not equal Y anymore.
Right. Like you're saying my expectation is that you're gonna get to this expected z. I don't care how you do it. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're gonna do it plus plus like this, that's fine. If you wanna go and say minus x minus y, multiplied by -1, it's still gonna get me to where I want to be.
So the end result is the key rather than the underlying
Exactly.
implementation. That's interesting.
In i-
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
in the logic, you're going to the result like this. In the test, you're starting from the result. Like, the test is going in the opposite direction. It's going like this to get back to the logic,
Or the result.
to the result.
My question is, this is just something that just popped in my mind. Does the standard have ways of testing, say, efficiency, speed optimization, either as unit test or some other way?
So a while back, I started talking to people about the idea of, let me go back here. the idea of going onto your test in here. This is a test, right? Did you know that you can just go like this and say timeout? So if the API call is taking more than 1 second, it fails.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
I did not know
There
that.
there is some scary people out in the .NET world, dude. I can't begin to tell you. There's some scary, scary people. The only problem with these people is that they don't have, I don't know them. Therefore, I don't know how to propagate their names. Like people are using this feature, but if I ask 99.9999% of the people that use this feature, let go know about it, like knowing about it, and then if you ask who are the people that actually built this, they have absolutely no idea. They just don't know, right? Which is a problem for me because I want to put faces on the technology. This is what my podcast is all about, right? If I ask you about, Claire Novotny, Brad Wilson, James Newkirk, who are these people? Yeah, these are the folks that are behind XUnit, right? And we're gonna have to do some of that if we own the APIs. We certainly have to. But that's there's also things that again the standard's not perfect. It's never gonna be perfect. The standard's still trying to address ideas like retry. Do you remember, Yusuf, we were talking about retry logic? We need
Yeah,
to address retry logic for resiliency. We need to address things like Christo is looking into logging and logging the actual telemetry for the exceptions instead of just the message, right? He wants to print out the problem details, which is just another big contribution. Christo is a big example of this. Brian, how much did Christo help us with this RESTful sense multi-part form? Quite a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he just doesn't care to be on a live stream or on public. He just wants to build cool things.
Yep.
The cool thing about him now is that he picks up the stuff that we're building and he goes and uses it in his work. So you see how he connected the circle. And now the engineering experience for him is much more enjoyable than someone who's just trying to push a card across the board.
He had a feature request in even before I finished.
Right. And now he's trying to drive A.NET. I think Gregory Hayes as well is trying to do that. He's trying to push a feature where we automate the publishing to NuGet packages. I think Caitlin and or Diogo, one of these folks is helping out. I love how just an engineer pops out and be like, "Hey, I got some cycles. What can I help with?" Because they start realizing, wait, everything I do in this community is gonna last forever, and it's gonna be used for thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people, right? I mean, our
yeah,
libraries are approaching 300,000 downloads. All our libraries, all 14 of them.
that's
That's pretty
crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
We
Hassan, I
hit
think
1
I'm gonna hop
million, we
off.
celebrate. I do the world tour.
I think I'm gonna hop off and get some sleep, but this has been very informative. And
Thank you
I'll
for
do
hanging out
some.
with us.
No, I appreciate it. I'll do some practice as well, so that tomorrow I can be able to be a little bit more, I guess, applicable when it comes to actually writing the code
By the way,
as
just
it
just
pertains
so
to
you
the
know,
standard.
Yusuf, in the standard community, there is a channel called Intern Track Project. Check out on these people. They're very new, really green. Check out on them and see if you can help them with something. It always helps when you're trying to teach someone something. It adds up to your own knowledge. That's how I know half of these answers off the top of my head because I've been asked the same question like 50 million times, right?
Okay, for sure.
Thank you
I'm
for
still
hanging
plugged
out.
into the Discord. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks, Hassan. See you all later.
Late.
Bye.
All right, Kailu, what's happening? What's tripping in the woods? Kailu's like, don't talk to me. You always give me the hard ones.
A lot of properties, that's what's happening.
So you're in the event. You're getting at the very bottom of it now. Cool. We lost Parker. He just went away. Create random training file properties. Is that all of them? Okay.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so.
Tomorrow I write the test. That's enough.
Okay.
If you think this
Okay.
is all of them, are you 100%
I
sure, positive?
I well, I think that's all. That's all of them in the models themselves. I don't know if we need more. Probably
I
we
think
need more. Just like
I think
like
that
what
should
you
be
said.
the I think
Yeah,
that should be the most of it.
yeah. At least that's 95% of it. Yeah.
Right. Parker, what happened to you?
Don't know. No, I said something went wrong. Try again.
Oh man, that sucks. So look, Kailu added in the methods that we would need to to generate random properties.
Hmm.
So Parker, just an assignment for you until tomorrow. Write the tests.
No
This one
worries.
here is
So he said. So the test actually hasn't been written. He's just prepared all the
that's the
functions.
yeah,
Yeah.
that preparation is the hard part.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Carlo. Yep.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So
Great.
Kailu, put it in as failed. Just a test and it's failed. Should submit fine tune
Yep.
async.
Should it be a file or a work in progress? And I'll do the file.
Oh, WIP, that's right. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Good catch. Thin arrow, okay. Cool. Okay, Parker. It's all yours. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?
No worries.
Thank you guys for hanging out. Talk to
Yep.
you later. Take
Thank
care.
you.